want to give a big shout out to Fruition MKE located right here on North 27th Street for allowing me to utilize their co-working and creative space. Please come down and frequent and use it. Shout out to them. All right, so welcome back to another episode of the What's Your Motor podcast. Today I'm checking in with my fellas, some repeat guys that you already know, that you're pretty familiar with. Been on the pod, been on Lee's pod and things like that. We're here today pretty much just to talk about, how we've been, little mental health things, and also preparing for the school year with our youngins, right?
Yeah, for sure.
We got children that are in high school, grade school, and we're just getting to the thick of that as we prepare. Some schools have already started, but I think our kids start within the next couple of weeks or even after Labor Day.
Mm-hmm.
So again, please welcome my boy Will Holloway.
What up?
And my boy Lee from the Special Needs and Wants podcast. How you doing, fellas?
Doing okay. Been a kind of a weird last couple of weeks for me, but it's rounding into shape.
Okay.
A lot of things on the table. A lot of things in the schedule coming up due to kids' schedules and just my schedule, wife's schedule, and all that kind of stuff. So a lot coming up. So, but it's been a little weird the last couple of weeks.
Gotcha.
Mm-hmm.
How you been, Lee?
Pretty good. We've been, like we was talking about, ramping up, getting ready for school, getting our minds focused back on the school and routine and school shopping and
school shopping is like a holiday, ain't it?
I know, meeting teachers. I was out working, but my son had school pictures last week, and sounds like that was a lot of people involved. Because they did it as a community of all of the schools. So high schoolers, middle schoolers, grade school, all of that was clustered in one. So we here now. I mean, school is back. This summer it's been a long summer, which I appreciate. But it's time to get back to school. Me and my son, we spent a lot of time together this summer. Probably the most we've ever spent one-on-one time this summer. So he's been able to work with me, and we go over work when we're at home. Just doing some fun stuff, moving around the community, going down by the lakefront. Obviously we've been having them in a few sports this summer.
Been seeing that.
Yeah, spending a lot of time with grandparents, and it's just been a good summer. Right. But it's time to get back.
It's time to get back
to school.
Yeah, for me, it's been kind of busy. Well, as y'all know, like this year has been kind of like a up and down kind of like year. The accident back in January, which kind of took me out and put me out of commission for work for what was I going for, like 4 months or something like that?
Something like that.
Dealing with the back, dealing with the knee, torn meniscus.
Yeah.
Surgery, June 26th.
Yeah. Then had the event. With the top lot.
Still trying to pie, still trying to stay connected with my boys and stuff like that.
For sure.
Walt started club soccer. They recruited him to play club soccer. So I'll be out in Pewaukee all the time. We got to go there today, this afternoon, So with that, basketball is still going on. But then also, like you said, preparing for school. We just finalized Jayla's school. You know what I mean? So Jayla got a new high school that she wanted to go to. It'll be a better fit for her too. So just in the nick of time though. You know what I mean? Trying to do that within the last couple of weeks, which is kind of crazy. And then
25th hour.
Yeah, 25th hour, like you said. And then
that's when he come in, that 25th hour.
Right.
Yeah, for sure.
And then just like now, it's just like preparation for that, but also still trying to be a wholesome guy at the crib, and then working out, right?
Yeah.
So like I'm either texting you or hello. I know you've been going to the WAC. I've been trying to make sure I'm there dedicated. Even working out this morning and stuff like that. So that's what it's like. But that's how it is. And I think it's important too, though, when we think about everything that we've been doing. Is like we talked on a previous pod about the mental health. Like that journey can sometimes be difficult. I think what makes mine difficult is trying to show up for everybody all the time. And then not to mention like my mother is older now, and I talk to you guys a lot about that, and it's different being the adult version of yourself and trying to take care of your parents versus you being like that younger kid and just like doing little things here. Now mom requires a lot more.
Yep.
And sometimes my daily life of getting up, going to work, making sure the kids straight, making sure the house is straight, trying to get my workout in, and then still having to take care of mom, not in that order, but that becomes a lot, right? So I think that's the most difficult thing for me on my mental health journey.
Yeah.
And I've been vacillating. In terms of like just like mental. You know what I mean? Sometimes it's like, oh my gosh, I'm tired. I'm dog tired. I don't want to do this. I don't feel like doing this. I'm frustrated. I'm mad. It goes it ebbs and flows on a daily basis. At the end of the day, I just know that I'm counted on.
Mm-hmm.
I'm counting on. There's a lot of people that's saying,
Feeling
that's
all
looking
them emotions
for me.
though, like you
Right.
said, right?
A lot of them. So, so what do you guys feel in terms of what are the challenges in your mental health journeys?
So I didn't even really go through maybe my last couple of weeks. So a couple of weeks ago, I was trying to do a bunch of stuff because took the family to Miami for a couple of days, and then on the way back from Miami,
my yayo.
On the way back from Miami last week Sunday, or really I started feeling it like Saturday night. Started feeling a little weird, like. And I'm thinking it's a head cold. Me, I always try to, take my little supplements and do what I need to do to try to see if I can get it out of here, right?
Right.
Sunday, I'm feeling the same way. And I'm talking to the wife, and she like, you sure it's not COVID? I'm like, no, can't be COVID or whatever. I just got like a head cold. Took a test Sunday night. It's COVID. It's positive. I'm positive for COVID, right? So I'm like, okay, it's an old test. I'm trying everything except for just to sit down somewhere, right? Because really, it's my opportunity to actually have to sit down, lay down somewhere, and not have to do nothing. You know what I mean? And so that's really what it was.
He passed that period.
I went to Walgreens, did me a test. They said COVID. I had to lay down for a minute. So really, for the last week, I've been laying down. Really ain't been trying to do a whole lot of nothing, and it's like been good because my body kind of feel it. Like before we even went to Miami, like even in Miami, like. Something you just said or whatever, like I forget I'm in a mental health journey sometimes because I'm in a mental health journey, like, right? Like I don't be thinking about it, like aware about it. I know I'm in one, right? Trying to think positive, trying to take a break, trying to calm down, trying to work through certain things that I might be going through while I'm trying to do things for myself and other people. So it's sometimes hard to realize like, oh, you need to take a break. Oh, you need to pause for a second. You need to like process this. You need to reflect on that. You need to work out. Like you need to you need to eat a little bit better. You need to do this. Like, so it's sometimes hard to realize, like, to stop and remember, like, okay, you need to do these things to stay consistent in the journey because we relied on so much, you forget that you need to do these things for yourself. And so to me, it's just like being present in the moment sometimes of that journey. And realizing like, no, you need to like rest. This is probably God telling you like you got COVID so you can actually lay down for a minute and stop. Like chill for a minute. Absolutely. And like I actually got to do that over the last week. So but looking forward, it's like we got to schedule this, we got to do this, we got to do that. So many things came down the pike toward the end of this week that was like, no, you better be ready because when you were able to come upstairs out of the basement and out of the ashes, the Phoenix is about to rise. Yeah, they about to hand you here you go, here you go. So you got to do all these different things. You got to be ready for it mentally and try to get yourself ready there physically. So to me, that's really what it's about. Like just making sure that like we stop and take that moment sometimes and do what we need to do for ourselves, because really, we push really hard to try to make sure that everything is in place, not just for ourselves, but for the benefit of other people. We was just talking with Lee about some of the scheduling things that he has to do. I didn't think about that. Like, of course I got to do some scheduling things with him. Of course we got to like get them on track as far as having them go to bed at the right times, getting up at the right times, getting that balance in place so that they ready for that part of the schedule. But I didn't think about all the nuances and wrinkles that you was thinking about for your kids. And then you have to think about like some people not doing that at all.
Right. School
starters, it's like, bam, there you go.
Yeah.
And it's like, teachers had to deal with that. People had to be able to manage all of that, And so it's a big thing to kind of think about. And so to be in a fortunate place where I get a couple of weeks where I can actually stop and think about what I need to do to be able to set him up to go into a school year the right way. as opposed to, you know, just dropping him off on the first day and he ain't really worked on no skills and I ain't really tried
over
to
the
cultivate
summer.
nothing.
Yeah.
The schedule ain't right, routines not there, and you know I drop him off, and I got an expectation that these people that I'm dropping him off are going to be able to get him to a place where all that locks in, he can and be great academically, right? And so, shout out to the teachers getting ready to come into the school year because it's a lot to deal with. Like it's a lot to think about, it's a lot to plan for, and then there's a lot of things that you're not even really going to anticipate happening to you. So shout out to all those educators that are coming into the school year and with that right mindset and knowing that like, yeah, it's going to be some challenges there, but that's what I'm here for, to try to help meet these challenges and mitigate some of it. So
So what about you, Lee? In terms of some of your mental your challenges in terms of like what you got going on mentally, and like Holloway's mentioning, like as you prepare for Lil Lee to get back to school, but just for your own personal sake, like, you know, how has that been for you personally, and then in regards to you preparing for school?
I meant to ask you like how that, because you talked about how good the summer was for y'all or whatever, and it just sounded like it was a fulfilling summer for you. But you like, now it's time to go back into this routine a little bit. So I did like, it was just fascinating hearing you talk about that a little bit because you know the journey is a little bit different. So go ahead, brother.
Well, just to stick on that, you know, we got to just start to look at things just a little more half full. And when I say we had a good summer, we've done some things we haven't done before this summer. So that's why I'm like, I could take that. You know, like, yeah, we may not have gotten to everything, but we've unlocked some new things that we haven't done before. Like, so my son's playing some basketball now.
Shout out Q.
Yep, shout out to Q. He is he's still doing the MMA with Chris. And that's just picking up steam. And then he also this is something his mother did. She pretty much basically taught him how to ride a bike without training wheels or something. So
cool. And he's doing it.
Shout
out Lee. That's congratulations to that.
So
man. For real.
So we've been doing stuff like that. And I haven't even really been on the bike with him. Like, I don't even think all summer. I think my dad may have taken the training wheels off, but we haven't been over there. We've been on the move, and even when we're idle, I'm in the house.
Gotcha.
I'm trying to recharge. So
right.
So yeah, from the mental health space, I just been trying not to figure everything out on my own, and just trusting God to just do it all for me. So that's like when we did the first pod, I was just not in good shape at that time. So you know, I kind of had to take control of, you know, how I was processing what was going on in my life. And, you know, it takes for you to kind of get in that pit to be like, you know, this ain't it. I realized I wasn't feeling good. I wasn't healthy. I lost 23 pounds in less than 2 months. And it was happening during that first podcast. I was like, even looking at myself, and I was just like, didn't look good. But I was just battling through all of that and still trying to be who I was, and to my son, to my family, with the podcast, I was still trying to be something when I was just really crushed inside. So I had to take some time to kind of let that mellow out and come up with a plan. And I just had to like stop trying to figure it out on my own, you know, and just kind of trust God and trust the process. That's difficult for me, I think, because we want to always have the answers, and we're looked to as the ones that gotta have the answers all the time. You know, even at moments where you don't have the answer, you still kind of gotta look like you got the answer.
No question.
You know,
gotta pose for sure.
So yeah, and that weighs on you mentally. So that's why I like try not to focus on like the difficult parts. And I'm just like, well, what did I get out of the summer? You know, son did well. I ain't lost nothing. Business is still flowing. We still doing what we got to do. Opportunities are still coming along. So, you know, I'm happy with that. You know,
Gotcha.
So yeah, so that's just been my focus.
And I think something that you mentioned that I like that you just said was the fact was about the help. When I think about that, right, I think about a lot of people that look to being able to do something or come out of something or strive for something to be able to be like, I did it on my own. Didn't nobody help me. I didn't have a helping hand. When we think about the mentality, especially like you said, men got to be able to have an answer, even if they don't have an answer.
Yeah.
And that's already tough. But what do you think the mentality is for a lot of men when it comes to asking for help or allowing someone else to help them on top of being able to be in that prayerful mindset, right? So, for example, I'm doing the podcast, right? But I lean on you guys. I have no problem asking for help. But a lot of times we've already been indoctrinated years ago to be like, I got it out the mud. I did it myself. I didn't need no help. Look at me. Versus, no, I actually need the help. I actually need the supporters. You know what I'm saying? Why do you think that is in terms of like, maybe even not even just men, but just people in general, where they feel like getting out the mud that's my stamp of approval, as opposed to actually being wholesome and having this community of people that support you and going through all that?
I mean, well, I think it's a lot of times we tell each other and teach each other a lot of the wrong messages in our environments. We teach people this individualistic, you have to, but it's really a team effort. It's never been where I never been to where I got somewhere where it was just me, where I did it without anybody's help. Never, not any point in my life has that ever happened. From my family system always being there and being behind my back, to teachers that actually cared and wanted to get you to a different place, to people that you meet in the community through sports or whatever you are doing in the community or whatever. But there's always somebody that was there at every point in my life that I can always point back to and remember, that was there and was helpful, that was resourceful, that was doing something for me, right? It would be crazy for me to get to a certain place and then think that I did all of that by myself. Now, I had to be receptive to that help. I had to know to be receptive to that help. So one of the biggest things that I'm trying to, instill with my son right now is that don't always focus on just you. It's other people around you, and it's things to take care of around you. So always try to give back to your community that you live in or whatever, because if you give back to your community gives back to you. It's a reciprocal relationship, right? So when you get to a certain place, you can always point back to the people who were helpful during that time, right? I can go back all the way to second grade to Ms. Rosenberg. That was one of my teachers in my classrooms that I know helped me with my language and how I was speaking, and not to constantly always be using slang and everything else when I'm talking, right? I was receptive to what she was saying. If I wasn't receptive or whatever, she just would have been another lady that I thought was trying to change me because I'm supposed to talk like this and this. No, she's trying to show me a different way, because I need to understand how to navigate when I get into certain places, right? When you get into those places, if you start talking a certain way, you automatically excluded. They're gonna put you out of there, right? And so I had to learn how to do that, but I had to be receptive to that. So what we're receptive is to the underdog. We want to see that one person come out and break through all them barriers without limited to no help. That one person stuck with them, though. It was the one person that stuck with them, right?
Yeah.
But if that person is not there, how many times have we seen people just lose it? My granny ain't there no more. I don't care no more about life, and I don't care. So it really has to be somebody there at every step of the way, and it has to be people that are influential enough to really put something in you and talk you and walk you through a lot of stuff. It can't just be lip service, because there's a lot of people out here that are elders by age, but they're not really talking about a whole lot. They're not giving a whole lot. And again, they can only give what they've been given, right? But at the same time, you don't have a lot. You try to give what positive that you can, so you can push those people forward. If you've done that, you've done your job. If you knew you didn't have a whole lot to begin with, you gave what you had, you did your job, right? And so, but in our society, and even more so now today, we talk about individual. It's an individual thing. It's like, no, you have to go out and do it. Like, so it's go back to what I was talking about with the mental health journey. Yeah, it's my mental health journey or whatever, but it's my mental health journey in relation to my family, my friends, and all these different things. They're a part of that journey too, right? So it's not, I can't always just all the way pull out and just strictly do me. I can never handle it like that. As a man, I got to get back in there and do something. Like you just said, we got to have an answer when you don't have an answer. Sometimes it's just getting up and doing something, right? But to me, it's just like we individualize stuff so much and make it be about one thing or one idea so much that's what we stick with, right? As opposed to, we need this community to be able to get better, for everybody to be able to get better. this is what the whole podcast is about. It's a community of guys that sit up here and talk about different perspectives to be able to relate to those people who may need help in that certain area and getting them to that next part of that help, right?
For sure.
So it's not just Walt's podcast, even though Walt's putting it, doing a lot to put it together, setting a lot of things up. But it's the ideas that's going forth from all the gentlemen that sit up here on the podcast to be able to help the community. So, but again, we just highlight one part of something or whatever because we want that thing to flourish, and that's cool for that thing to flourish. But you have to remember the things that you had to put in for that thing to flourish.
Yeah.
The water, the soil, the nutrients, the sunlight, all those things that help the plant to grow. If it don't have all those things, the plant can't grow. So it can be an individual tree that looks majestic, right? But it took something for that tree. You had to put something in that tree for it to grow.
Absolutely.
So it take a community effort, but we highlight the tree. Go ahead, Leo. I said a lot.
Yeah, no, what was the question?
No, I was just saying, like, asking for help, like, especially as a man, what it's like and things like that. Just that whole mentality of I did it on my own.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And, I think it's culture. I think it's like
Absolutely.
a thing that everybody kind of just runs with, but also it's just people when people do things for you, there's a lot of the times it's a hidden agenda behind it. So it's always just been a difficult thing for me to accept things from people because
what's your motive?
Yes, here we are, and that's the difficult part about accepting help is that what am I going to owe you in the end? And probably whatever you're doing for me, I'm probably going to owe you. It's going to take more out of me to pay you back than me actually doing it on my own. But I've just kind of dealt with that a lot this summer. That I need a team. That's just what it is. I need a team for the podcast. I need a team for the company I'm running. I just need a team, and I can't be successful without it. So I've kind of just been put in a space where it's like, yeah, got to deal with some other people, and I got to divvy up and shell out and give a percentage of the business away. Hire and pay this person, hire and pay these different levels of streams to get the stuff out there. It's just a many of different things that you got to do when it comes down to that. But you need a team, and I can't make it just doing it by myself. I'm just gonna land on my face. I'm gonna fail. But then that's on you to come up with a process, protocol, step by step how you want things ran. Right, basically a plan. It's really all it is. I've had to break down both companies here recently, and I was just like, I got to come up with a plan on how this is gonna work without me being involved.
Gotcha.
And and then but once you have that thorough plan and you got processes in place, then now you can kind of share that responsibility with others. So that's kind of my thing. It's like I've been trying to do things on my own for a while, but I can't anymore. So it's like now we gotta pay, we gotta hire, we gotta empower, and also network and meet the right people, and let the work and all of that stuff lead you to the right people, which is done.
Right.
Again, it goes back to that trusting thing, trusting that God gonna put you in the right position. That's the biggest thing I do. Is like, all right, well, whatever. Following God here anyway, so let me trust that He's gonna put the right people in place. Let me trust that He's gonna make sure everything is taken care of financially, physically. What I can do on my end is make sure that I'm still walking with Him, still working out, still doing the work on my own. Is just to make sure that I'm in the right position when that time comes. But yeah, man, I can't do nothing but trust at this point.
No, for sure.
Because not trusting has me looking like how I looked on that last podcast, which was defeated,
wearing yourself thin,
tired, depressed, sick. None of this stuff that I'm dealing with is worth my life. And that's what happens. You get to a point to where you just like, how I can't take anymore. And then I just had to kind of not snap out of it, but I just had to work towards like, look, it's all right. It ain't all bad, but it's all right, you know.
Right.
And we can just keep on building from here. What can I do in the process?
Right.
So yeah.
And I think so. You mentioned being able to have a plan, having the correct players, right, and trusting that God will, help you kind of decipher who should and shouldn't be around in terms of being able to do that.
Separating the wheat from the tare.
There you go.
And then I don't know if we know about that.
And then,
but that's a real thing because everything looks the same when it's coming up out the ground. You know what I'm saying? Everything looks the same. So, you got to go through the process and be like, okay, let me see. Okay, this worked. This didn't work. This works. This isn't work. It looked like it could have worked, but maybe not for me.
Right.
And, we've had different situations recently where it looked like wheat. You see what I'm saying? It looked like it, but it really wasn't. It looked like wheat though.
Believe that.
You know what I'm saying?
Believe that.
So yeah. So and that's a whole process in itself because everything looks good. And it could be a disguise, but it's up
very
to you
easily
to test that and be like, okay, is this it or is this actually valid? Yeah, it looked good. Do a great job, but not for me.
I always pride myself on being a healthy skeptic about any and everything and everybody, respectably, you know what I mean, for sure, but always like, okay, hold on, let me check this person's background, let me see the verbals, non-verbals, how we moving before I can actually like allow you in. And I think that goes to whenever we doing something.
Y'all, but you can't put a novice in position.
This is true. And I think that what happens though, a lot of times when people do create teams, and like you said, like sometimes you don't know who you're dealing with, and you put somebody in power, you delegate these roles, and then stuff start to falter. That falls back on you, obviously, right? But it could be more so, like you said, somebody came in with a different motive. Like, yeah, I want to help you, bro. I want to look out for you. Yeah, I got you on that. But then when they go out there and they show and they represent what you got going on, it doesn't align. And I think that's one of the things, like you said, trying to decipher like who's for you, who's with you, who's in it for the right cause. That's a lot. It takes a lot. And a lot of time, I'm sure we can attest to that. We've all gone through that situation where somebody that burnt us some way, form, or fashion in some way, or let us down. And we had those expectations, but then it goes back to another reason why my skepticism is even heightened, even more so, because now I have a flock of people that I'm taking care of, my family, my boys, you know what I mean? So if I'm introducing somebody to you or to you, I got to make sure buddy is solid. I'm not going to bring nobody around that I can't really vouch for, because then how does that make me look, right? And all I have is my word and my bond, right? My word is my bond and things like that. And then going back to what he said about the majestic tree, how we grow these things, right? And how we grow. There's a lot of things that go into being able to allow that flower to grow. What is it? Photosynthesis and all that stuff that goes into it.
For sure.
Those people around there contribute to that. And another reason why I do the what's your motive, it ain't for me. It's for everybody that's around me, man. I'm all about really, you individuals here. I truly trust that your motives are pure in everything you guys do. And I will stand on that in front of anybody. You understand what I'm saying? And that's all I'm trying to do. We here at Fruition MKE. I'm literally just trying to show people like, this is the resources we have. There's nothing wrong with showing love to everybody.
It's a fact.
And we all can do this. And it's all, if it's for the community, if you're for the community, then show that. And that's all I'm trying to show. I'm not doing anything for me. If I could, I would hide behind somewhere, be behind the scenes. You understand what I'm saying? So everything that y'all saying, it speaks to my heart and to my mind. You understand what I'm saying? I wanted to be on one accord. And I recognize even when you said, like, I'm still doing my work, but I'm also still praying, right? Because I still got to do something, too, in the midst of that.
Yeah,
There's
I think
work
that's
still to be done.
kind of the biggest, like, some of the biggest things that y'all talked about, like, with Lee and the examples that he gave. When he wasn't, like, trusting and being vulnerable enough to, like, receive help or whatever, it weighed on him, right? It burnt him out. It got to the point where he just like, he hit the rock bottom and knew something had to change, right? Right? Prayerfully all the time, though. Okay, we always got to put that prayer in there. Always got to put our request up to the big guy upstairs, right? And then trust that he's gonna show you something that's gonna be able to, you can walk into this, right? Get into this space. You know what? But guess what? It's still people in the space that really don't mean you no harm. I mean, don't mean no good.
Well, yeah,
right? They still in the space or whatever. You navigate the space, and you have to kind of go through that. What you just say, we end up getting burnt by somebody, right? And you have to say, you know what, I got to learn from this experience and not be jaded, not be so open minded, right?
Yeah.
I got to have some boundaries about what I'm doing here, because if I don't, you know, you lose money, you lose time, you look crazy. It's your name on this stuff. You know what I mean? So, but you got to go through that in order for you to be like, you know what? When you get to a certain point with somebody, like, you know, I don't think I can do that no more. It was good for when it was going on or whatever, but to this point or whatever, I don't think I want this to be associated with that. You know what I mean? And so you got to have some boundaries and learn that. You had to learn that. You had to learn that through these experiences. So you had to put yourself out there and be vulnerable or whatever enough to learn the spaces that you're in and the people that you're dealing with. But you also have to be guarded in some ways, because like we said, that healthy skepticism has to come in there somewhere. Like, okay, why are we doing this? What did this have to do with what we talking about? Do I want to be associated with this? Like, am I going to really spend time to be able to do what they just talked about? And if those answers keep coming back, red flag, no, then you got to cut some of that stuff out. So it's part of the process, but both things are part of the process, right? We all been in a place where it was like, I as a teacher, I was afraid to go down and ask people for help because it wasn't in my makeup. I didn't know how to do that. Yeah. If I didn't know how to do something, I had to figure out how to go out and do it. That's how I was things was raised. That's how I kind of was raised. I had to figure it out. It wasn't somebody was gonna come show me. And that had experiences in the past where I've asked older people to come show me, and they said, no, you got to do it yourself. And it's just like, oh, so from that, you realize, like, don't ask for help no more. This is the experience I got when I was 12, 13, 14 years old, when I'm asking people for help. And it's at a time when and this is also kind of come full circle to why I do what I do with kids now. Somebody has to have these conversations with kids so they understand exactly what they're getting themselves into and some of the pros and cons and what they're getting into. When you don't do that, what happened to me was, oh, adults don't help when you ask outside of a school building. Oh, you have to figure that out. That's on you to do that, right? By any means. So now you ask your friends. When you ask your friends, they put you in worse situations because they don't know either, right? So so that's what happened. So that's how I become so fiercely independent now. I don't want to ask nobody for help, because every time I did that, I got put in a situation where they made me feel stupid for asking for help, because you're supposed to know, right? And so again, we have teachers. Well, we just talked about with teachers the other day, right? What you say the other day about Mrs. Cullen, right? She instilled it in your mind that at a certain age you're supposed to know. So when you had kids coming to you, you like, you don't know that, and no, they don't know that. They were never taught that. They were never showed that. Somebody said you got to learn how to do it yourself. So now as a teacher, when I fast forward and I'm a teacher, I don't know how to ask other teachers for help when I'm struggling with an issue. But what I do know how to do is go down to other teachers that I think are good teachers and watch what they do. I know how to do that like a mother. I know how to shut up and sit there and watch what's going on, because I need to learn something, right? So that's how I learned how to take these little things and incorporate it into. I never asked, but I always went back and gave those teachers credit, right? Because I watched you do this, and that's how I learned how to do it, right? So that's how I knew, like, you can give me a book and I can study the book all day and I can get that book down pat, right? But it's the actual application of the thing that actually made it come alive for me. So I had to see it in work, and then I'd be like, oh, okay, I know how to do that, but I'm going to do it my way. I know how to twist it to do it this or that way, right? Yeah. But it's all a part of that process, right? If you're not vulnerable enough to go out there and say, you know, I really just don't know.
Yeah, I think a lot of kids get burnt by some of the adults too. But this is what I think. I know. As a kid, I was super vulnerable to the adults. Like, okay, how you do this? What you do with that? And I took a turn when I was 21 years old. I think I had this conversation with y'all where I was working at Freighter in the medical college. I had to finish down at UW, so I couldn't work there anymore because the internship hours conflicted with my classes. But I knew the person that was the head of HR. Brother, you know. Looked at him as a mentor, a little bit. Right? Yeah. As a mentor. So what do you do as a young kid in education? Let me reach out to my mentor, because maybe they can lend me some kind of advice, some kind of guidance, some kind of a leg up, a step up, or put me in a situation for opportunity.
Give me some news I can use.
So I reached out We have coffee on 76 and Good Hope, Starbucks. I don't even drink Starbucks. You know that. Well, now I do a little refresher. But I got the venti water. I never forget it. We sat down. He invited me to this. And I was just like, I'm really trying to I'm finishing up my degree. I want to just get into, freighter. But again, you know what I mean? I'm going to apply for some jobs, just trying to see if you can give me some ins and outs of what's needed. Gave me his whole story, He said, I got to this position because somebody took a chance on me. I was fortunate enough to do that. I did all the right things. I went to school. So I'm thinking like, okay, I done went to school. I'm getting my degree. Clean. I don't got no record. You know what I mean? I'm poised. Yeah. So I'm thinking like, okay, yeah. He's like, he looked at me in my eyes, bro. He said, somebody needs to take a chance on you. So in my heart, I'm like, he about to take a chance on your boy.
Go ahead.
You think it happened?
Take that chance, my boy.
Didn't happen.
Where the chance
Shook
at?
his hand, left out.
Ain't no chance.
And I'm driving home like, did he just look at me and say no chance? That's when I realized like, I got to do this myself, all by myself. I went home, I went upstairs, I was still sitting at my mom's on Sherman, the famous house on Sherman. I'm upstairs on my bed over here thinking, I'm laid back on the bed, I'm like, somebody need to take a chance on me, and this man is in a position to take a chance on me, he ain't take a chance
Where's
on me.
the chance?
So I'm like, I did everything right though, Lee. I did everything right. I went to school, I got good grades, I'm graduating, I don't be in no trouble, no mess, and he didn't take a chance on me. And I'm not blaming that man. I'm just saying like, that's where I think that mentality came from again. Like I do it myself. I'll figure it out. What's our favorite thing? I'll figure it out.
Yep.
How hard is it to call your boy for something?
It should. It's well, and I mean that's a different conversation too, because you got certain people you can call on, you can get right away, then you got some you can't get to for days. So it's just like
true.
Goes back to what I was saying, separating wheat from the tare, and figuring out who's really for you, But that help, even just to go back to the question of asking for help, it also comes with maybe not a hidden agenda, but okay, if I ask you for this and you give it to me, now that gives you an opportunity to.
You got an expectation.
Not even that. Not even you got the expectation for sure, right? But now you got it. It feels like you give an opportunity to dissect what I got going on.
Okay.
So now, okay, I helped you with this in regards to this. Okay. So what you think about doing this on your podcast? Or what you think about taking these kind of loads? What you think about hiring this kind of driver? It's like, well, I didn't really specifically ask for help in that area.
For sure.
But just because I had a need in this moment, now you feel like you're supposed to help me in this area that I got covered. I've had a lot of people come to me with different ideas on where to go with special needs. Oh man, you could do
unwarranted though.
Unwarranted backpack giveaways. Well, like, okay, whatever. That's great. But I have a vision for it that was given to me from, like Will said, the big man upstairs. He gave me that vision. Only vision I got is to keep doing this work that you're doing. That's it. So I have to continue on this. We can do all of the extra other stuff later. But it's like I'm met with something all the time.
No,
and people don't realize that I'm laying the foundation for what I got going on.
I hear you on that.
I can't just jump to step 5. You see what I'm saying? When I'm still at step 1. So, but I said all that to say, when you receive help from people, here comes the opportunity to try to tell you how to do it or what to do. And it's not even specifically on the pod. It's business. Could be a spouse, how to deal with a situation with your spouse. It's just like you could be talking it through, and then now you're getting unwarranted advice, unwarranted things and it's unfortunate because it could throw you off your track. Imagine if I listened to everybody who said, hey man, special needs one, you should be doing this. You can go here and do that. Man, you talk to this person. All right. It's just a lot of people want to talk to me right now about the pod. You know the first thing I tell them? Mm-hmm. You want to talk to me? You need to exhaust yourself in the content we got out there right now. You need to have watched all 5 episodes. If you ain't done that, then what we doing? You can't even get close to my vision of for this. You can't even catch it because you haven't even did your research.
Yeah.
So no, before we can have a conversation, let's get tapped in with what I got going on, and then you can kind of see where my heart is and what I got, what I'm trying to do here.
Yeah.
But not just jump from this step just because I got something going on. There's 100 other podcasts very similar to mine. You can go to those. You can talk to those people. But I know what I'm doing with mine. So I don't specifically need that help. But that's what happens also when you ask for help. And that's what pushes us away from getting the help. But, you know, I've just had to start to look past that stuff and just say, hey, you know what, whatever. I don't owe nobody nothing. Even if you help me, still don't owe you nothing. If you help me, great. But I know that when I'm helping people, I'm not sitting here like
tallying it up.
Remember, bro? Like,
you got it in your back pocket.
My heart just pure, bro. I'm gonna help whenever.
Like draw 4.
Exactly.
Hitting you with that Uno draw 4 or whatever. Like,
bro,
come on,
my
man.
heart pure, bro. I'm not really looking for nothing in return. I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing. If I'm helping, it's because I can help, not because, yeah, bro, you gonna give me back for that? Like, nah, I'm not looking for that. So
ain't nothing wrong with showing up just because you want to show up.
No question.
That's it. That's it. Simply put, that's it.
Yeah, and, but again, I think like it goes back to all of the bigger conversation about what we talking about though. Like, and this is why it's so important to like have the boundaries, right? But it's also important to be like continuously be mindful and reflective of what you're doing, like, and having a strong sense of what it is that you want to do and the direction that you want to go. Because like just what you talk about, I see people do that with Walt all the time in regards to the pod and like throwing ideas out there and it just be like,
what buddy say? What would he say?
You got to.
He seen the men's mental health pod. He seen our pod.
You got to do something on voting. And it was like, okay, that's really not the direction we was going in. It's more of an education space. We talking about ideas that go along with education. We talking about some ideas that go along with mental health and things like that. And it's cool that people had these ideas and stuff, right? But that's your idea that you now injecting into what we got going on here.
Right.
And so it's that's why you got to have, and again, it's not
plan. Remember I said a plan?
No question.
Because if you're caught up in, it's always going to be something happening. You see what I'm saying?
For sure.
So it's like the voting and the election is something that's
current events.
Happening. It's current event. So if you also are kind of always being moved by the trends, and what's going to happen when those trends die down, or you done touch everything?
Well, now you got to reach for another thing to keep coming back to it. So, like, it's definitely just having the boundaries, and it ain't no offense to people that do that. In my opinion, because a lot of this stuff just come with the territory, right? Like, as a teacher, as a guidance counselor, people tell you things all the time about what you should do with your practice and how you should work with kids and this and that. And I always want to listen to what people say so I can digest what I think that they were saying to me. You know, was that supposed to be for help or was that supposed to be for something else? If it's supposed to be for something else, I'm going to know after a while anyway, because it's going to show in your behavior and it's going to show how you get down.
Right.
But if it was supposed to be helpful, I'm going to see that too. I'm going to see, okay, they was really just trying to be helpful. Now, if it's something that I feel like they stepped over a line, I have to tell you about you stepping over a line, right? I'm going to try to put it in the best way, shape, form possible for you.
I'm not doing that.
I'm just not doing that. There's been a lot of times where, the such and such is doing that. That's fine for them.
Right.
That works for them.
Yeah.
I'm going to do what's working for me because what I'm doing that's working for me is really working for me. So, so you just really, it's all about really kind of getting to that boundary place and being mindful of the fact that like, I got to go back and set this boundary here because this is starting to get off a little bit. It's starting to go in a direction that that's not really what I wanted to do.
Because it actually gets agitating when people try to impress so much upon, and I get it. Sometimes they're there for trying to help, you know what I mean, want to drop their 2 cents, but like, you kind of overdoing it because if you would pay attention, no disrespect, but if you would pay attention to the pod, you would recognize that ain't really the lane that I'm in. I'm not in that lane.
Well, I didn't ask
you know
for it.
That's
at
you know what I'm saying?
So you gotta look at it like that. I didn't ask for help. And man, like, what you think I should be doing about my business, or what you think I should be doing about? I didn't ask.
Right.
It's reaching people. It's doing what it's supposed to be doing. I'm not asking. And even if I do ask, have I consulted the one who gave the vision in the first place? That should be the first ask. See what I'm saying?
For sure.
Let me go back to the source here. Okay, who put this in my heart? Okay, God did. Okay. So what direction should I be going with this, God? Let's start there. You see what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
If I want to ask people, like I got a few of my friends in the space, and they do. One of them does great social media stuff. One of them does works for a sports editing company. So they deal with a lot of this marketing and different things. As far I'll consult with them,
Right.
you know, but I'm not just asking for opinions. This is going to confuse you constantly. It's going to constantly, constantly be in the space where, okay, well, I remember this person said that, and they said maybe I should do it this way, and then this person said. Now I don't listen to five. Now I'm just confusing myself. Now I don't even know what to do. I don't. Now even I might be trying to satisfy 5 different ideas in one platform. So
Right.
So yeah, it's just goes back to that not. I mean the caution with asking for help.
Absolutely. And I think us being fathers and things like that, I think that's important in terms of inculcating that into our children as well. Just helping them to recognize the importance of,
Absolutely.
being who they are, accepting who they are, being confident in who they are, but also sifting through, and that's our job to help them kind of like, be able to do that and equip them with the mentality to do that. Because one thing I recognize with Walt, he's more accepting of a lot of different people, especially young, impressionable mind and things like that. But I think we talked about it on your pod one day about not trying to do too much because we still want them to experience a lot of things. So even going into the school year, he'll be in 5th grade. I'm giving him a little leeway in terms of how he want to go about his routine a little bit. We've already kind of like established it over the years, and he know what's going on. Even this morning, he woke up and like, next week I'm gonna start going to bed early. You know what I mean? And getting together, getting himself inclined. Because I'm telling him like, you gonna have soccer practice, you got homework, you got 5th grade. It's a pivotal year right before middle school. So just thinking about this year, I'm really looking forward to seeing how all of our sons flourish as they continue to get older.
Yeah.
And just speaking from that male perspective, and you guys are super active with our kids, and we thrive in that, and we want to do that because we know everything that we didn't kind of like seen, and we continue to go through on a daily basis.
No question.
So in terms of getting ready for the school year, I'm just trying to shape that mentality, mold that mentality to be able to, hey, you got to go there and sit up there and do that. Lee, like he said with his son, he's already doing the routines. I'm taking him to school because it's a little bit different for him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Yeah, like that's one thing we haven't really lost that part of going to bed early and stuff like that. He's still been kind of going to bed around that same time he would, like as if he were going to school. So like those things we don't really have to adjust to. It's more or less like, and I mean y'all with y'all boys too. It's dieting. It's eating at certain times. My son been eating all over the place.
Yeah, for sure.
9 o'clock, 10 o'clock. He eat like it's just.
Yeah.
It's got to be more structured now. So now I'm like, okay, you can have breakfast and maybe like some fruit or something like that, but then we got to come back to the table at like at least 11:30. Then we have lunch, and then we have to look forward to dinner after that, maybe a snack in between here and there.
Yeah.
Just like those little things that count.
Getting that regimen back together.
Yeah, because if it's off a little bit, that could turn into potentially a problem. Imagine like, I mean, we did it. We went to school and we went to school hungry, and we saw how that affected our learning. So if he's in a space where he's hungry, that might affect his mood. That might affect how much is he gonna learn. I want the best learning experience.
Right. And what grade is he going to?
4th grade.
4th grade.
So I just want the best learning experience.
For sure.
I want him to be his best self when he gets there. So
for sure.
We got to work on the routine, the diet, just flipping back into the mindset of I got to go back to school from this time to that time, through these days throughout the week. So that's what we doing.
Gotcha.
So yeah. What you doing?
And Will's going to 7th
William
grade.
is going into 7th grade, so it's a big transition right now because it's like middle school, and this is like you're starting to get to the age where you separating from your parents a little bit, it's starting to become more about your peers, become more about the trends and them ideas and things like that. And one of the biggest things that I'm trying to do with him is like, you got to find yourself in these trends. Like, yeah, the trends are going to be there, but who is William at the end of the day? So don't jump on every trend that you see just because you see it's a trend or whatever. Sometimes you separate yourself because you're not doing what everybody else is doing. And so trying to help him understand that. But also it's a major time because when I was working with a lot of 7th grade boys, this is when they tuned out. I tuned out when I was in 7th grade. I clicked back in because I had a strong family unit. I had to, right? So I remember when I was in 7th grade going to school every day and going to sleep because I was bored. I was intelligent enough to pick up whatever they was doing. So I just would go to sleep every day and getting a report card. And when that report card say 1 point, so I'm like, golly, I'm so ashamed of myself that I don't want to show my parents because I know I can do better. So they never had that issue with me again. But that's because education was king in my house, right? That was one of the things that my father stressed, my mother stressed. So by the time I was, going to 7th grade, I had sisters that were graduating from Marquette and that kind of thing. So it was always to look forward to in regards to that. So I always kind of knew I was on that path. That was the expectation. I did struggle with it because I was really emotional and didn't think that was me, right? But I didn't know another way to go. So I see this with my son, and I want to make sure that I meet him there and help him deal with these emotions and be able to walk through it. But not only that, grow into the young man that you should be, right? So it's all of those different things because he's right. He'll be 13 next year, but like he gonna be in there with 13 and 14-year-olds and all that kind of stuff. He played basketball too, and he played up and playing with guys that's going to high school. So he gonna be around that and hear that talk. So they're gonna be talking about stuff that he may not be experiencing yet, but now it's like boom, it's right in your face, right?
Yeah.
We all been a part of like locker rooms and to know what that talk get to be like, especially when you fortunate enough to be good enough to be around older guys, right?
Yep.
So you hear all that stuff, and then all of a sudden it become a part of your lexicon too. I want to be there to help him navigate that space. Now it's like it's difficult because you have to sometimes separate yourself. Like I'm always gonna be his father, and I always got to click into that. But sometimes you got to take a step back and be like, he a growing young man. What do he need? He may not need you to be dad right now. What do he need, right? There was times when I needed somebody to walk me through it and not worry about if dad was going to click in and be like, oh boy, you, right? So there are going to be some times when I'm going to have to be very delicate in that situation because it's real easy to lose your sons. It's real easy to lose them in terms of they tune you out. They stop listening to you. What you say don't make sense no more and all that type of stuff. You old, you washed up. You got to be careful. So I just want to stay locked in with him to make sure that he know he got me every step of the way. He always can come to talk to me about things that he need to talk about.
Yeah.
Sometimes I can turn dad off for a little bit. Dad is always going to be there. So I'm always have to bring that back around so you understand and know. But like, yeah, I need you to get through this situation and know how to navigate these spaces that you're going to be in and know how to like, not go to the left or not, or not shrink in certain situations too. It's okay to stand up and be confident in that situation. Own that. You know what I mean? So it's a lot of that going on with us right now and just really trying to get him to that. He's really shy in certain spaces too. Like, so where he not confident at, he's shy. So he don't speak out in public a whole lot, so I'm just trying to get him to some places where he do that a little bit more. I noticed with sports, that's the great equalizer because he learns how to talk to people very quickly. They make friends very quickly. You have to communicate when you're out on the basketball court. When you playing a team sport, you have to learn how to communicate if you're going to be good at what you're doing. So he learning some of those things there or whatever. So I've had a lot of help in the community with a lot of people playing basketball with him and, people really recognizing just he got a lot of skills. So he's a little guy, but he got a lot of skills. So people bringing him along and putting their arm around him. So that's been fantastic to be able to see that and to be able to be a part of it because I still be there every step of the way. I need to see what's going on, for me. Like, so I want to be involved in it every step of the way because I need to know too.
Right.
If what you feeding him is good, is good for him. You know what I mean?
And I think that's even thinking about that, as we all talked, right? And everybody We're all fathers up here. We always want the best for our kids and things like that. But I think that we all can agree that there's been other people that we've trusted the care of our children in that have actually brought them along the way, whether it be a Q Red, whether it be a Ian Bennett, whether it be his coach, right?
Devon,
Right,
Coach Devon
whether it be his
Jackson.
coach,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Whether it be those
Bonnie out
individuals,
here.
and that's what we need. And I think that's a testament to the the old adage, it takes a village, right? But it's also gonna be Papa Bears that's still gonna be watching and making sure and still trying to listen in and adhere to our standards. It still got to come back to us to be like, okay, this still goes along with my moral compass, our values, the integrity we trying to instill, because we don't want anything going outside those boundaries. So shout out to everybody in the community that is trying to do that and helping out
100%.
with the other little boys and things like that, whether it be Chris from the MMA and things like that, whether it be Q Ray, whether it be Vonnie, whether it be Ian Bennett, shout out Ian Bennett, even brought
Coach
all the way
Nigel.
out to Pewaukee.
Coach Nigel out doing a lot of good things with
Cream
the
City.
students.
So
Thank you.
shout out everybody that's doing that. Shout out all the teachers getting ready to get these young boys back into your classrooms and things like that. Shout out Fruition MKE for letting us utilize this space. Shout out to Harry. Shout out to my boy Kyle.
Missing y'all today, man.
Missing y'all today. But we'll get back on there with them soon. Shout out my boy Lee.
Yes, sir.
My boy Holloway, of course, for stepping in and coming through.
Talking it down. You know how I do it.
This is not the last day, my boy. It's not the last. You'll see. Be sure, my boy should be coming up soon with another Special Needs and Wants podcast sooner rather than later. Don't even worry about it, but be sure you're checking in on that. Continue to check out Will and I with ICEC Consultants. We just did one for a school as well if you need some teacher consultant. But this is what it's all about. Until next time, what's your motive?